Hi, I'm sorry the video took so long to get out, but this video is kind of strange topic I'm studying. I'm very interested in economies or how societies grow and why sometimes they collapse. There are other economists that they pursue these subjects, but the reason I became interested in this topic was I grew up at the end of Shah's time, and I was always wondering how the Europeans became so successful and developed all these technologies, and how the West was one basically, and at that time the United States was sending Apollo missions to the moon and all that, and their success was kind of enviable to me. Anyhow, but I am here now, and this is 2017 going on 2018, and most of my dire psychic predictions are coming true, and I would like to kind of look at why the US economy is collapsing, or why their future is dark, and what underlying currents are producing this, and this is a really interesting topic. There is an expression in Persian. It says, "Oh, whenever you stop the red ink, well, you're gonna see the black ink." That means that, another way of they say is that whenever you stop losses, that's when you start seeing profits. Uh, the well, let's face it, the U.S. has been spending tremendous amounts of money on foreign wars, and I don't know. I heard the expression of like $6 trillion, the money that was spent on Syria war, and I don't know. Another economist was saying that they have spent as much, or 9 trillion. These are staggering amounts of money that's being spent on foreign wars to destroy Muslim countries. In fact, U.S. has been successful in creating chaos and warfare in 5 different Muslim nations, and it constantly harping about going to other countries too. Uh, Doing these things has ravaged the United States. I mean, some economists they talk about this, like David Stockman. He talks about flyover America, but a lot of these guys who are being accepted by mainstream or society knows them. They're also Jewish, and they have that gene wanting to help Israel and wanting to help United States do more of this shit, but just cheaply. Then Celente talks about it, and Kaiser Report talks about some of this stuff. I was listening to Kaiser Report, and this is when Max and Stacy they were stationed in Britain, and she was commenting that how everything is so much more chic and more advanced in Europe, and like the internet is like 100 times faster over there. The rails are like high speed rails everywhere, and there is a reason the rest of the world is rapidly growing. Some countries, their economies are growing like 7%, 8%. I think Iran's economy was growing 7% or 6%. this is with no money inducements from central bank, or maybe there is some, I don't know, but that's a staggering numbers. Uh, we can compare that with what's going on in Japan and United States or other countries. I heard that uh, the Saudi Prince Salman, he confiscated the monies that belonged to other princes, put them under some kind of arrest in a fancy hotel. But, I don't know what's gonna happen. They're struggling because the price of oil has dropped, and they haven't changed their ways. They still want to make warfare in Yemen. Saudis made war in Lebanon. They go around bombing different countries. The Saudi regime has successfully murdered a million Iraqis, or they had proxies bomb all these places. That was very sad. That every day I open up the news and I see different places in Iraq were completely bombed out, and then it goes on in Afghanistan and Libya and other countries, and I think that these guys, they're gonna get, United States and Israel, they're gonna get their asses kicked very bad, very hard, because the realization that these wars are not going to end, and United States and Israel and their friends in Europe or other places, they will not stop. I mean, when a population, when people, they realize that they have a big problem and it's not going away. I mean, it's just like you have an incurable disease and you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, you have incurable disease, you know, you cannot deny that anymore. You just have to look at it and face it. So I think that the common man or common Muslim or Arab, they, they, they have either have come or they will shortly come to that conclusion that hey, we got a big problem, until we get rid of Israel, until there is some kind of major military defeat to the United States, towards the United States, or if we don't beat them militarily, they're just gonna keep going on and on and on. Here in United States, uh, the U.S. Economy has become a war economy, and these people are very much set up for it. I mean, everything seems to be either directly or indirectly tied to their military desires and ventures. I guess um, the guys who print all this money, the Federal Reserve, they're also the same guys that help Israel and these Jewish-owned businesses, and they haven't stopped, and they're not going to stop. Uh, but while they're doing that, they have also transformed the U.S. economy into a kind of a central command, and it's not really capitalism. If you want to study these ideas, you should really read David Stockman's book on Great Deformation, or listen to Kaiser Report. I'm just adding up my 2 cents worth. What I'm saying is that when you look at foreign people and their, I mean, I grew up at the Shah's time. I can see the changes. I can see how I can compare with the past and see that, hey, they are more affluent. They're dressing better. They're more confident. I was looking at a singer. She's an upstart singer. She sings in Azeri. I was looking at her earlier videos. She has a band and all that, and then gradually, as the videos become newer, so dude, the concert that she had was like compares to Madonna's. Like all these people and all the musicians were dressed up better. The music was not much more lively, and I was reading. I was listening to Kaiser Report, and I was saying that the Germans, one of the big worries that the Germans have is that the Central European banks, or the branch that they have in Germany, has stopped printing 500 euro notes. Like somebody is so worried. Oh my God, I can't even carry a couple of 500 euro notes in my pocket. What is the world coming to? You can compare that with what's happening with the Americans. They have done surveys and shows that most Americans, they cannot come up with $400 cash if they need it for emergency. You can look at the foreigners, like the Germans. I don't know about the Japanese. Uh, well, I think the Asians are very quietly amassing huge fortunes. Like I totally believe that the Japanese are extremely wealthy on individual levels. I don't know about the Chinese with all this economy they got going. And well, I could say a few things about the Iranians. Even Iranians are usually on the individual level, they're not. Well, but I think they're gradually becoming very wealthy too. It's because their governments and their people, they don't have ambitions to conquer the world, screw everybody else up, and their money and resources go to their people, or go to the companies that operate them. Um, uh, when you have plans to overtake Middle East or Far East, or that these ideas, this warfare machine, intelligence services that goes with it, and it sucks up all the cash, all the money, and gradually these people who work for the intelligence services, CIA, they seep into other companies, they seep into stock market, bond market. They make their own companies. They have their own connections and their own, and they overwhelm the regular economy. That you have to work for a living, and you have to innovate and make products that anybody might want. And I was talking to this British guy, and he seemed to be an aristocrat because he had properties in Africa. I was he, I was telling him he was very worried what's gonna happen. Told him I wouldn't worry at all about Britain, because the British people, after the World War II, they decided that they don't want to practice world domination, and they gave up their colonies. Everybody knows it, and the people, they just do business with them. They know that the British government has to provide lip service, because it has all these ties from the past or future or whatever. But the underlying current is the people, they don't want militarism. They don't want to have huge militaries and be stationed all over the world. In fact, the British Parliament rejected calls for going to Syria, making wars there. So I guess where all the money and all the resources that the technology provides, where do they go? They go. I have a very good idea where they go. They go top down from aristocracy to shareholders to the average Joe, and also when a nation is not practicing militarism, it frees up a lot of mental and other resources, because you don't have to constantly consider your relationship with all kinds of different people that may or may not be friends or foe tomorrow, because well, if they decide they don't want you anymore, well, oh well, I mean, I have to find another customer. But I wonder how many relationships I've had with nice American women that they could be the mother of my children, but they dumped me, or I had to dump them because they were so worried, because they didn't know if like 2 years down the road the U.S. government is going to go nuke all of Iran and kill half the population. So where will she be if she has kids with me? And you know how these practices of militarism destroys relationships between people, because they're in the back of their mind, they're so worried that, hey, what's gonna happen? I mean, or I know a lot of examples like this. I'll tell you a few more. uh, I was struggling with my son, and I give him a little bit of money every month, and I was sending the money to him in Walmart, through Walmart. He was coming around and giving all kinds of excuses why we shouldn't be sending the money through Walmart or PayPal or other services, because he's so worried. The government does so much spying. His name is Muslim, and then he doesn't know if there will be a repercussion somewhere in the stupid government, that they will deny him something, the loan or this and that, or uh, people are worried about this stuff, and it impacts your relationship. I'll tell you some other examples. I was working in Laguna Beach when I started working there like 10 years ago as a taxi driver. There were a lot of German and Arabs and other foreigners, strange places, Indonesia, Japanese, Asian. They come over there because it's a nice place. It's sunny. It's the beach town. We got a lot of artsy places. Hey, but as the time went on, as the wars dragged on and on, the economy of that place kind of sinking down and down, because foreigners, they don't want to come back. They don't want to buy property there. They don't. They are suspicious of the government and the banks. All this surveillance and all this screwing around with the Muslims and with other races, it has left a very dark kind of desire to severe ties. So when the average Joe or the foreign investor, they kind of shy away from investing and coming around and doing stuff, the place goes down, because we are all tied. I sincerely want to see an end to all these foreign wars, and I think that the Americans themselves, they know something is very rotten. Let's see, who are we spending trillions of dollars like for the Jews and for the Israelis? I mean, I have, as an Iranian, I've had experience dealing with Jews and with the European Jews too. One thing I can tell you about Jews, that we are spending so far $16 trillion on, uh, that they are not very impressive kind of people. I mean, let's start looking at them physically. I mean, most white Americans, they beat Jews hands down. They're like taller, white, sexually and personally more attractive. The Jews are usually like shorter and olive skin, and they're very much into their monies and crap that's going on with their business, and it goes down the line, and their version of militarism and playing the victim forever. I would sit and wonder if I want to spend any more money protecting Israel, or losing more business to foreigners. I know that the United States has lost a lot of business to China. Also, doing these things, endless militarism, also, Americans have stopped producing or making things that are not related to killing Muslims. I mean, the only thing that really we make here now are weapons or avionics, stuff that has to do with surveillance or furthering these crap. We have stopped making things that the world wants. Well, let's start with tourism and go down the line. Most of the good electronics come from China or Japan. I don't know. I think that I was going to call this video hollowed out entities. Like some company, they exist and they have all this good name from the past, but really they don't make anything that anybody wants, and they have a lot of debt, and also some bad attitude because their employees or their CEO were hired in the 50s or 60s. They are not really relevant to today's world. You get my drift. I mean, am I making some sense? Uh, well, the reason I talk about this stuff, a couple of good reasons, is that as a psychic, as a Muslim psychic, I kind of specialize or study uh, uh, death or near death or after death. It's kind of carried into to my economic studies. I study the companies that are about to default, and then things that are going to fall apart and what happens afterwards. So the fact that I'm talking to you about these subjects is sad, because you are my subject of study. You need to think, why do Americans or America wants to go in this direction. Anyhow, uh, I would like to give a lot of this research some venue for expression. We'll go over some other stuff later on. Uh, but I'm going to have a video for 2018 psychic predictions, and I'm going to title it the world moves on, and 2018 psychic predictions. Also, sitting here and making psychic predictions, and when I see a lot of these things have come true, and then one that I made didn't come true. Okay, so that kind of makes me wonder, why didn't this come true? Well, you know, there is a practice that the Americans and even the Iraqis they practice it. It's called the continuity of government. Or if you have a company that's been successful and now is totally bankrupt, but still you have the name and you want the name to continue. Maybe you can do something, reorganize. But a lot of the stuff that's happening and the news comes out about them is is not really what reality is like the same concept. Somebody is trying to make a continuity of government, continuity of the bond market, continuity of a stock market, even though there isn't anything there is no value there. You know what I mean? All the team has left. But there is the shell. You know what I mean? And okay, we'll continue. A lot of my stuff is research, and please subscribe. Thank you.